That is ultramarine blue, and we will need it. Hello, dreamers! I found this photo of this awesome whale, and I'm going to paint it. So, you're coming along for this ride with me as I figure out how I will paint this vision and what it will turn out to look like. Just a heads up, I laid down 2 milligrams of Daniel Smith ultramarine blue in the painting process to achieve the end result, which is quite amazing. Stick around. Masking out the bright water glare spots on the surface of the ocean. Spots are much smaller and denser as it goes into the distance. As you watch me laying down layers and layers of paint to the ocean, I will talk a little bit about the design process of this painting that went through my mind. You see, I believe that every attention-grabbing painting has a focal point. Some even has multiple of them. A focal point is where you want your viewer to gaze upon when they first lay their eye on your painting. This area needs to pop and often tells the story of the painting. There are a few techniques that artists use to achieve this effect, and what I am using today here is contrast. Using the brightest bright of the sunlight shining through the ocean surface and the darkest dark of the whale's skin color and texture. You see, in order for the contrast to maximize its effort, the surrounding elements of the painting needs to be rich in color tones and saturation. The analogy I can think of would be like writing a novel. If the focal point is the climax of your novel's plots, most likely you will spend 80% of the book building up to the conflicts and the suspense to the climax. And that's what the layering process you're seeing now is doing for the painting. I wonder if anyone is ever curious about how the paints are made. So let me tell you a little bit about the ultramarine blue paint. So ultramarine blue watercolor paint is actually produced from a mineral called lapis lazuli, which is primarily composed of the mineral lazurite. So the process is that they will extract the pigment by grinding the mineral into very fine powders, and then they wash it to remove any impurities. So they take up a remaining powder and they mix it with binding agents to create the paint. So when you think of the paint name ultramarine, you think, oh, it's used to paint oceans and waters, but it actually means the Latin word that actually means beyond the sea. It actually is named this because the original source of minerals was mined in Afghanistan, which is very far away from Europe that they have to transport across the sea. So ultramarine blue was highly prized by the artists during the Renaissance and the Baroque period for its vivid color and durability. making it one of the most valuable and sought after pigment of its time. If you find this video to be helpful at this point, please hit that like button. That will tell YouTube to share my video to more people. As you see, when the painting dries, it loses a bit of its value. Always have to layering back the intensity of the saturation or the value that I want to achieve. So the paint color that I use for the whale's body is just pure Payne's gray. And Payne's grape watercolor is a very popular pigment that has a blue grayish tint that is favored for its cool and neutral tone. It is named after the 18th century British artist William Payne because he often used this color to paint his landscape, use it to paint sky and a cloud. So this pigment is composed by a mixture of colors such as ultramarine blue and black, and sometimes people throw in a little bit burnt sienna or raw sienna, and it might vary a little bit different based on the brand of the paint. And it's one of my favorite colors to work with blue because it naturally darkens the blue without giving it a very obtrusive black tint to it. This is also another one of my favorite things to do is to lift the paint off the surface of the ocean to achieve the effect that the light shines through the surface of the ocean. And what I really need is a brush that has stiffer bristles for this to work better. But I am able to achieve what I want through the brush I have. now I'm going to cheat with the highlights of the painting with a bleed-proof white ink and adding onto the lines on the whale's belly and around the mouth. And this is my favorite part of the painting process. If you think of something that you would like to see me painting, please leave them in the comments. An artist got to get inspiration from somewhere or someone. Remember the whole speech I gave earlier in the video about contrast? The light is light and dark is dark. Well, I just finished putting on the lightest light on the whale. For every grooves or bumps that reflect the light, there will be an opposite side where the shadow lives. Now I'm using highly saturated dark value paint to paint these shadow spots so they can complement the highlights, creating the contrast. It's like watching a dance. It will make the painting looking so very satisfying. And now let's fix the surface of the water. Removing masking tape. And lastly, I'm going to create ambient bubbles with, yes, you got it, it's a Q-tips. I'm going to lift off the paint with a Q-tip. And for the bigger bubbles, of course, I'm going to use a bigger brush. And the last thing I want to do is to create some splashing light spots right around the focal point where the whale's mouth kisses the surface of the ocean. And voila! If you like how this painting turned out, please check out my other videos or subscribe to my channel for future works of art.